morning, everybody. The time is 9:32 a.m. Today is Thursday, October 26, 2023. This is the Alameda County Lead Poisoning Prevention Program's Joint Powers Authority Board meeting for the month of October. This meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format. Members of the public may join us at Emeryville City Hall, located at 1333 Park Avenue in Emeryville, California, or by joining us via Zoom, using the link provided for in the agenda for today's meeting. At this time, I will ask the computer.
Mine is, my laptop is on the so weird.
At this time, I'll ask if the clerk would please take a roll. Yes.
You're not on mute.
Great to have a mayor that knows.
Okay. This time we'll take the roll, please.
Okay. Director Hardy, Director Miley, Director Vela, here. Director Wenra, present. Director Gallo,
Present.
Director Bowder.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Now is the time for public comment. Members of the public who wish to give comment for an item not on the agenda for today's meeting will have 2 minutes to do so. Are there any members present here who wish to give comment? Are there any hands raised online?
No.
And have we received any written comments?
No, we have not.
Okay, public comment is now closed. We'll turn to item 3, which is our consent calendar. Members, we have the minutes from the 28th of September. Is there anyone who wishes to make changes to the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, is there comment on the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, is there discussion or a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Guy, second by Wengraf to approve the minutes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries by all members present. Turn to item 4, which is the director's report. Mr. Brooks.
Good morning, directors, and welcome to National Child Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. We have some slides that we're going to show you, some of the posters that have been prepared for National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. Also, just want to share with you that the staff has been working very diligently during this period of time, sharing the message of child lead poisoning prevention throughout the community in a variety of ways, both in person and virtually as well. So this first slide, you can see one of the posters that has been prepared, and you'll see on that poster the logos for the EPA, for HUD, the Office of Lead Hazard Control, in Healthy Homes, the Center for Disease Control. And if you can go to the next slide, just a couple more examples of some of the materials that are being shared publicly in order to send the message of the importance of lead poisoning prevention throughout the country. Next slide.
Is this microphone?
Can we check the microphone, please? Yeah, just speak into it a little more. Oh, Ms. Hardy. Good to see you up here.
So as I was saying, there's been some amazing posters that have been prepared through our federal agencies that are all dedicated to child lead poisoning prevention work. This is one of my favorites here in terms of teaching children the importance of washing their hands. Next slide. Another poster, I think I have maybe one more that I can share with you before moving on to the next portion of the presentation here today. With regards to National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, it is customary to have the Alameda County Board of Supervisors to present a proclamation to us. This picture here is just a picture of what it looks like from the dais looking out to the audience during the Board of Supervisors meeting, which took place this Tuesday. Next slide, please, in which we received the proclamation from the President of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Nate Miley, At that time, in accepting the proclamation, I also shared with the Board of Supervisors the Supervisor Miley's proposal to have a ballot measure go forward to increase the CSA, which, as you know, was established in 1991 at $10 per unit fee on pre-1978 housing for the cities that you all represent, has not been increased since 1991 because of the changes that were made when Proposition 218 passed, which now requires that in order to increase that fee or for any jurisdiction to opt into that fee, that it has to go to a ballot measure. So we've spent the last 7 to 8 months working with the county administrator's office to put together a presentation to present to the Board of Supervisors based on Supervisor Miley's request that the board consider a ballot measure to increase the CSA fee as well as to add the unincorporated county into the CSA. He also has an interest in a ballot measure to bring in all the other incorporated cities into the CSA. But it's our understanding from our county council that in order to do that, you have to go through a LAFCO process, which will be rather time consuming and would not be achievable for the next ballot. So it is likely that if the Board of Supervisors tells us to go forward with maybe hiring someone to do polling for a ballot measure, the ballot measure would probably just be for including the unincorporated county into the CSA, and then also at a later date, bringing forth a ballot measure to include the other incorporated cities. And the proposal would also include a cost of living increase in that ballot measure. Do you have any questions on that? I will be bringing you the presentation that we prepared with the county administrator's office after we present it to the Board of Supervisors, which should be next month.
Okay, questions on this item, Director Bell?
Yes, Director Brooks, when you say the next ballot, do you mean spring or fall?
It would be considered for spring or fall. It would be up to the board to tell us what they want us to do. My own idea on this is that we probably need time to get a consultant on board to help do the polling to determine if it's even feasible, and therefore probably best to go with it in November.
So, just a couple of things, at least concerns that I would have. There's going to be a statewide bond, school bond on the November ballot. That will be a big item. Potentially also an infrastructure bond. And then there's the housing, which is the county, multi-county, Alameda County. Former Supervisor Brown is working on that. And then there's going to be probably, I know at least in Alameda, we're considering another measure, and our school district is considering a measure in the spring. So just some considerations. I think my hope is when you come to do the presentation here with the county, that we take into account and maybe get some feedback on some of the context around what else is being considered and thought of on that ballot.
It's my understanding too that either it's spring or perhaps it's fall, that there's actually some type of a constitutional amendment that's also going to be considered that would remove some of these, the need to have like a three-quarters vote.
Yes, the threshold vote is going to be on the ballot as well.
That's spring or fall?
My understanding is that's in the fall.
In the fall.
And there's also the California Business Roundtable measure, which would make it so that every local jurisdiction is actually unable to
Pass any taxes.
taxes. So,
Fun times ahead. Others who have questions or comments on this? Yeah, Director Guy.
Yes, so what is the timeline?
We don't have a timeline. That's part of the reason for presenting to the Board of Supervisors sometime in November in order to get direction. So that will probably impact what the timeline is. And based on Director Vella's suggestion in terms of maybe a very packed fall election, perhaps that will be taken into consideration as well as far as the timeline.
But right now, you did bring up in terms of possible taxation to the voter or to the resident, $110. Is that
The current $10 per unit fee on pre-78 housing that City of Oakland currently pays under this proposal that we're presenting to the board based on Supervisor Miley's recommendation. It would also ask to increase that fee on all of the cities that are currently in the CSA. Again, in terms of how much, that would probably require a consultant. The last time we attempted to do this back in 2006, there was a company that was hired, this JPA helped pay for the hiring of that consultant who did the polling in order to determine what fee proposal might be able to get passed. And unfortunately, at that time, we were going into a very deep recession, and the polling suggested that we not even try it, and so the idea was dropped.
So it would expire, or is this a continuation or increasing the fee?
This would be a continuation. The
Just to
proposal would
increase the
be
fee.
to increase the fee and also include the unincorporated county into the CSA.
So it would include the entire county, not just so.
It would include the unincorporated county first.
Okay.
Then after going through a LAFCO process, depending upon the results of that, there would be another ballot measure that would come forward, which would request that all of the other incorporated cities become part of the CSA and pay that fee on pre-78 housing. And that could all be impacted as well by the amendment that Director Vella just mentioned, where you would no longer need 3/4, but it would just be a majority vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll have some brief comments. So if you don't have a consultant already, you're in bad shape. You're in bad shape, you're not gonna win probably, to be honest with you. I do ballot measures for a living, and I have never seen people be very successful with the tax increase that are thinking about potentially spring, which is a March election here, and you don't even have a consultant yet. Here in Emeryville, I run 4 ballot measures and always have the consultant at least 1 year in advance. Always do polling at least 12 months and then again 4 months in advance of a measure. And then develop materials to actually send to people to inform them about the measure for the 2 months prior to that. So I would just say, don't want to be Debbie Downer, but not optimistic if you're trying to do it next year. I would not be optimistic for you. I think the other issue is, you've talked about the LAFCO process for all the other cities. Yeah, there's a microphone issue somewhere. One of these microphones is. Is that it? Did it work? Yeah, we'll figure it out later. So I would just say that the county will obviously decide to do what it wants to do, but I would just say if you don't, the risk you have is if you try to run a measure in a very short timeline and you haven't done consulting and narrative development and you lose, you're probably going to be at least 10 years before the county will agree to run the measure again. Because if you lose a measure, they're not going to put this, it's going to be in a long queue of other priorities that need to be funded, and it won't come to the top again. So I would really, I don't know if the county board of supervisors has to give you the consultant, if you can choose the consultant, I don't know how that is structured within the county, but I would be happy to talk to you offline about that. I just think that if you don't have a consultant already, most consultants would tell you that you might be able to get something done for fall, but you would not be able to make the springtime, like not successfully probably. The other question I had was, since this is a CSA that is involving just these 4 cities and then unincorporated county, so that's gonna be even more expensive as a measure because you're gonna have to put it on exactly these 4 cities ballots and exactly unincorporated county ballots. And that's gonna be extremely expensive to the registrar of voters because they typically, when we vote on county measures, all of us across Alameda County get an entire ballot sheet that says countywide measures, and it will say Alameda County voters, and it will be like 6 or 7 measures that we all vote on. But since people in Livermore and Hayward and San Leandro are not going to be voting on our measure, we're going to have a whole page in the ballot book, a specially printed page, and that will cost you several $100,000 easily. So it's not just the viability of the measure, you're going to be expending a lot of money to actually print these ballots and do this initiative. So I would just really, I'm a little concerned for the agency, to be honest with you. I'm a little concerned that you're going to the board to do this next month, and there hasn't been a consultant on to advise you about that you haven't done the analysis of what it's going to cost to run a measure. I mean, your measure could easily cost $500,000 easily. And so I don't know if the county is planning to pay for that or if that's coming out of your budget. And then there's not been any outreach to see if people are going to support that. So you're going to have to potentially bury a lot of money very quickly for something that's very uncertain. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and I know a few years ago that the timing wasn't right in terms of where the economy was and things like that. I do think that, my hope is that we do revisit this and find a way to make it be successful. It may be one of these things, especially coming up on in this election cycle, if we miss this window, my hope is that meeting that you're going to have with the county, at least we could, if they don't move forward with it on this ballot, that there could be some planning and coordination with the cities that are involved, and that we set it up. I do think we're in a good spot to do it a couple of years from now. And to do it with a coordinated effort where we can get the various cities that are involved to agree to pay for the cost of getting it on the city ballot, right? Because that is something that the cities can cover the cost of. And to do that, it would take several resolutions from our various cities to make it a ballot initiative that is sponsored by the city. So I think there are some ways that we can cost share potentially and figure out, and it's for the betterment of everybody because the services are for our cities, our constituents. But I think we need to have some planning time for that, and so I do like the idea of kind of planning out a couple of years and then getting to a spot where a year out we're doing polling and we can start lining things up and coordinate a little more.
I endorse that. I think you should be asking the Board of Supervisors to support this, but to give their staff direction to assist you in developing a timeline for a general election in 2026. I think that is the most responsible thing. I think it gives the cities the opportunity to just put it into our own ballot measures because we already have our own ballots, we already have to print them in that election anyway. And it gives you the time to have a consultant for 9 to 12 months in advance to the polling. It will be we've moved all of we're moving most of our elections to 2024 and off of the non-presidential cycle in some ways. So there's, like Director Bella mentioned, this ballot this year, you're going to be very full, right? And you're going to be competing for attention, and what you have the risk of doing, from a polling perspective, is people will see Healthy Homes Initiative, then they'll see BAFA Initiative, all these housing things, right? And people won't know which is which, right? And you will have cross confusion about what I'm voting for, and that actually harms both measures, in my experience, especially when they have higher vote thresholds. The other thing is with the business roundtable item and the whole, it can be reduced the threshold, like polling is going to be different, and how you message is going to be different when you know what the threshold is, right? So when we've polled here, 3 of the 4 measures that we've run here, where I've chaired the campaign committees, 3 of them were 2/3 vote measures because they were taxes on properties, right? And the narratives that work for those, and then what the opponent narratives are that take away support, you have to be really, really specific about what you're saying, and you can't lose much support when you have a higher threshold. So if it's successful, the state ACA, the successful effort to put us at like a 50% or a clear majority threshold, it gives us a lot more cushion in a future election, because there's also this other competing thing that's out there that says, you know, any new tax has to meet this really high threshold. And California voters, to be very honest with you, are notorious for being dumb. They literally vote for things that are completely contrary. They pass both of them in the same election. They will literally say no to the death penalty and yes to the death penalty in the same election, right? They will literally do that. So it's kind of, there's a lot going on, and I would just say it's not like there ever is an election where there isn't stuff going on, but I do think that the non-presidential elections are better for more local measures, just because there's a little more ability to focus attention, because you aren't going to be running like some of these state measures do, a $12 to $20 million campaign. It's going to be on TV and in the news every day. And so you're going to have a lot of voter apathy by the time you get to your thing, because they're already looking for, there's these 7 things I have to vote on, and then they get a sheet that has 25 things to vote on. They don't have any idea what the rest of them are, and there's a whole group of people who just do voter nullification. We're like, no. They just feel like they're being overtaxed and overwhelmed, and they really focus on the things that they've been hit with on messaging, and you're not going to be funding a campaign at that level, most likely. So I think for a lot of reasons, I'm not your consultant, but you should get one, and you should probably do a 2026 election is what I would suggest. I think most consultants would probably agree with me. Director Bell also works in this space. I think she would agree with me.
Well, my response to that, Director, is I appreciate the fact that this meeting is being recorded, because I know that the supervisor and president of the board, Supervisor Miley, wanted us to come forward with this presentation to the board to consider it. In his comments on Tuesday when we received the proclamation, he talked about the history of how he was one of the original members of this JPA, had been one of the original proponents of the $10 fee on pre-1978 housing, which he said back then, 30 plus years ago, that it was considered very, very controversial. I didn't get the chance to tell him it's still controversial, because I travel all around the country and people applaud us for the fact that we actually have this $10 fee. And I'm always asking other cities and counties, well, why don't you have the same thing? And so it's still considered very, very progressive. I'm not aware of any other jurisdiction that does something like this. So I can see where it would be difficult to bring it forward to a ballot measure to increase it and to add other jurisdictions in the unincorporated county to it. As I read the history of the last time this was done back in 2006, because I didn't arrive until 2013, it appeared as if there was the board was informed of this, but then Healthy Homes was redirected to the JPA in order to come forward to the JPA and present it, because at that time, as I mentioned before, the JPA cities ended up having to pay money towards the consultant. So I'm not sure if that would happen again, but it sounds to me like regardless of what happens with the Board of Supervisors next month, I would still be obligated to come and deliver that same presentation to your board here, so as to get direction, which it sounds like I'm already getting direction. So I'm wondering if the JPA would actually want me to summarize your comments in some way and even include that as part of the presentation to the Board of Supervisors next month.
Well, we didn't receive the presentation that you're giving them, so we don't have all the information that you're presenting, unless others here wish to sense clear directive. I think it would be okay to say that we had concerns about the amount of time that remains between now and an election, and the things that have not been initiated that would need to be done to be have a higher likelihood of success in an election next year, and that we're very grateful and supportive, especially of Director Miley's work in championing this issue. We have obviously talked about needing to increase this fee. I've been on this board for 8 years, and we've talked about that repeatedly over the years. So I think the fact that there's someone on the County Board of Supervisors championing that issue is a very positive thing for us. But I would just ask that we as an agency understand the importance of that fee getting an increase. We'd like to know, what amount of an increase that's going to be, what they're recommending, because that will also play into some of it, and that's usually something that gets studied through polling. So since none of that is done, I don't personally think we should make a formal recommendation, because we don't have any of the information. You could go and poll people tomorrow and say, we want to go from $10 to $15, and we might all be surprised that 90% of voters are like, let's do it, right? In which case, we're like, okay, go forth and conquer. But we don't have that information right now, so I think it would be foolish of us to make a formal recommendation without that and hearing what the consultant would say. But I think that you could share that our concern is that there isn't a consultant right now. There hasn't been an analysis, and that the timeline between now and next year is very short, and we're concerned that that puts puts a prospective measure of success behind the ball, the 8 ball, if you will. Would everyone think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, I just have one question. Can you provide us, we brought up the state of California already has some ballot measures that are going to be on the ballot. Can you provide us the timeline or the election that'll be taken action on, what they are and what we're asking the public to vote for? So we at least at the city level understand that the state of California already agreed to do these, as well as maybe the county has other measures involved. Because, there's always discussions within cities. Well, I want to do X, Y, Z, and we find out after the fact that the state is asking me to give another $1 million of my taxes. And many of us are going to Texas and Arizona because of it. So anyways, I just got to have that information. If you could share that with us, that would be great. So at least at the local level, that the information you just provided was extremely valuable. And but we'll know already who's ahead of us in terms of asking the voters for more money. Thank you.
And one other point I will make is that County Supervisor Nick Miley is now the new county representative to the JPA. He could not be here with us today, and his alternate is watching today on Zoom, one of his staffers. So I imagine that she will be reporting back to him today's occurrences. No further questions.
Is there any further questions on this item?
Then continuing with the director's report, next slide. We have some dignitaries here from HUD. We received word recently that we were going to receive a HUD Lead Hazard Control grant in the amount of $5,700,000. And then more recently, we heard from the people in Washington, D.C. that they wanted to send a representative out to present us with the check, so to speak, or at least symbolically through a prop that you see there on the PowerPoint slide, and it actually is over here. And so I would like to invite our representative from HUD headquarters in Washington, D.C. to come say a few words. And we also have representatives from the HUD regional office here that would also like to come and introduce themselves to the JPA before asking you guys to come and pose for a picture of us all receiving the big check.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Happy to be here. Good morning, everyone. I'm here from HUD, the Department of Housing, Urban Development, actually the Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes. And my name is Kim Nesbitt. I'm a social science analyst there. Happy to come out and greet you this morning. It is National Lead Poison Prevention Week. And of course, that is our wheelhouse over in HUD. And so we're happy to see all the work that you guys are already doing. And we're acknowledging and recognizing this week, as well as the funding that you are receiving to continue doing this work. So the World Health Organization launched the first international campaign in 2013 through the Global Alliance to eliminate lead paint. And today that global effort continues with the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection Agency, and that is our acting federal government coordinating agency working on this effort. National Lead Prevention Poisoning Week is an annual call to bring together individuals, organizations, the industry, state, tribal and territorial and local governments to focus on the reducing childhood lead exposure by increasing lead poisoning prevention awareness. So I'm just gonna highlight a few things today as we're honoring and recognizing this week. And we have multiple events taking place this week as well. So HUD's Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes works directly with the EPA's Office of Pollution and Prevention and Toxic, as well as CDC, to develop and disseminate a range of information materials. And specifically, we've worked on a toolkit, an informational toolkit. And just want to highlight this week, the theme for this year's National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, what I can say that is a mouthful. It's not a cute acronym, but it is a mouthful. And so we just want to highlight that the theme is together we can prevent lead exposure. And some of the key messages and takeaways, we're just saying, get the facts, get your child tested, and get your home tested. And we do have an information toolkit that is also in English as well as in Spanish. Additionally, we recognize that there are many stakeholders and key partners at different levels to make this work happen. So just recognizing that from the child care facility to the local government, to tribal government, to healthcare providers, public health, and a myriad of other professionals are working in this arena. So this year we are having a number of big check events, and you are actually, we're hosting one here as well. So some of the places that we're having some of these events going on is in Alabama, in Memphis, right here in Alameda County. We have one taking place in Broome County, New York, and some at state local health departments in Minnesota, Michigan, Maine, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. So it's a feature of a mix of events, but certainly we're happy to be out here, and we want to, again, present the big check to you today, and thank you for all the hard work that you are doing to address this great public health issue. Also, we do have local representation here as well, and so I will turn it over to him, Edward Cabrera, to have a few remarks as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning, Ed.
Board Chair Botters and esteemed members of the Board of Directors of the Alameda County Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. It's my honor today to be with you. My name is Ed Cabrera. I'm the HUD Field Office Director for Northern California, based in San Francisco. And today, really, we are here to applaud HUD's latest investment in furthering your collective efforts to prevent lead hazards across Alameda County. And as Director Brooks mentioned earlier, this week is National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. And as my colleague Kim Nesbitt also mentioned, the theme, Together We Can Prevent Lead Exposure, really, I think, crystallizes why HUD has deepened its relationship and partnership here with you today and with Alameda County's Healthy Homes Department. We at HUD value this partnership greatly. As you know, an estimated 300 children in Alameda County test positive for elevated levels of lead in their blood annually. And of course, that interrupts their development. It causes cognitive and behavioral issues, and also prevents them from one day reaching their full potential. So we also know that exposure to lead, primarily via lead-based paint in older homes in the region, disproportionately affect low-income African American, Latino, and other communities of color. And we learned in 2021 that there are 116 census tracts in Alameda County that fall within the top 25% of census tracts in the state of California when it comes to the presence of lead hazards in their environment. So while we're making great strides, thanks to you all and your efforts, we still have much work to do, and we're committed to partnering in that regard. In closing, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge and applaud Alameda County Health Department's, and specifically Director Larry Brooks and his team for being awarded HUD Secretary Award in 2022 for their exemplary work in preventing childhood lead poisoning and their demonstrated persistence, innovation, and accomplishment in furthering this vital work. Our goal, of course, at HUD is always to inspire and to invest in actions that lead toward healthier homes, lead hazard reduction in communities, and greater climate resilience and public health, more widespread affordable housing and public health, and environmental justice. Overall, we're seeking greater community well-being. So on behalf of Secretary Marsha Fudge and Regional Administrator Jason Pooh, I'd like to thank you for your continued effort and partnership to make all homes healthy in Alameda County. You have a partner in us here in the regional office, and it's my honor to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Waters, would it be appropriate now to do a photograph of us receiving the check? And I would also add that our Deputy Director, April Williamson, is here today. I asked that she be present as well for this photo op because she's the person who manages all the money.
I was gonna say, the money lady is here, she's got a big check. Yes, we absolutely can do that. Before we go down and do that, just on behalf of the Board of Directors, thank you to HUD, both the regional office as well as the national office, Kim and Ed and your teams for recognizing Director Brooks and the staff at the Alameda Healthy Homes Department, one of the most effective agencies here in Alameda County, who do incredibly important work on integrated health responses to lead hazards in our communities. So thank you for recognizing us, and we'll go down and take a group photo.
Where would you propose they stand, here?
We can do it either right in front of the podium, or we could actually stand here. Whatever you like. What would you like?
In front of the podium.
In front of the
In front of the dais.
Okay, we'll go down the front.
Go down the road.
Yeah.
Come on, friend.
I think we should just stand out.
We might have more space up
Stand right
here.
here. In front of the podium.
Yeah, right here is typically for council meetings what we do.
You gonna be in the picture? That's what I'm taking.
Yeah, you're in the picture. That's what I'm saying. Get this already up there with you. No, it's already, you gotta hold that side.
How you doing? I'm doing okay.
Everyone take one step towards me this way to the side. Just already take one step to your right. 1 second. Come one step this way. There you go. Like that.
Yes.
We do have relief forms for everyone. I would hate to get back and can't use that.
Did you get one
Yes.
from Ms. Hardy?
Did we get everyone to sign the release form?
You got Ms. Hardy's right here. There, you want to hand that?
Oh, great. Thank you, Director Hardy. And I would like to thank the JPA for all of the support that you've given us over the years, and for agreeing to be here for this moment and take this photo of us receiving this check. We could not do the things that we have been able to do without all of the support and guidance that you have given us. Let's see, I have a couple more slides to share with you as part of the director's report. This is a former City of Oakland employee, Director Gallo, Cici Muella, who is also the founder of the National Women Leaders in Code Enforcement, and currently works as the Director of Code Enforcement for all of Northern California, Four Leaf Incorporated. She was recently in Hawaii teaching a code enforcement class alongside the EPA as part of their renovation, repair, painting course, which they took to Hawaii because, as you know, we here at Alameda County piloted the first RRP training for code enforcement officers, and it did so well that the EPA made a recommendation to their headquarters in Washington, D.C., that the same type of grant funding that was given to us from the EPA to pilot code enforcement officer training and lead safe work practices, that it be done throughout the nation now. And so as part of that, they went to Hawaii to put on a training, and as you might note there in the quote from Ms. Muella, she gave some credit to Dale Hagan, David Crosby, who are members of our Healthy Homes Department. Rosa Hernandez was one of the other original instructors of RRP training for code enforcement officers, but I don't think she was in the class that Cici was in. I also see in that quote Pete Roque, who was mentioned too. Pete Roque was also in the same RRP training class that Ms. Muella took that we did back in 2018. So just wanted to note that as part of National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, the EPA and what they're doing based on the work that we were able to pilot. Next slide. And speaking of Pete Roque, who is the Director of Code Enforcement for all of Southern California for Four Leaf Incorporated, as I mentioned, he and Ms. Muella took the course that we gave under the EPA grant back in 2018, and he, along with Ms. Muella, have been kind of preaching the gospel of lead poisoning prevention all over the country now through their work with Four Leaf. And he was so inspired by the work that Healthy Homes Department has done. In his spare time, he writes, obviously, and he actually wrote a book about child lead poisoning prevention, a children's book. And you can see there a couple of pages from that book that is now being distributed wherever they travel in their work that Four Leaf does. He gives those books away. He doesn't expect to make any money off of them. He just does it because he really believes in the work that we're doing. He created a character that is based on my life, and you might be able to figure out who that character is in those 2 pages. I do need a haircut, for sure. But I am deeply honored to have Pete Roque include me in one of his children's books. He also has a really great children's book about code enforcement. But we also have some copies of the book, and we will be distributing those. And I actually will be going with Pete Roque into some of the local schools and reading the book to children. Ms. Muella does that every year. In fact, for Women's History Month, she goes into Oakland schools and she reads children's books. She has now agreed to join us in going into some of the schools and reading this book to children. So this, again, is something that, again, is a result of all the support that you have all given us in terms of trying to make sure that code enforcement officers receive RRP training. Each of you had encouraged us to provide that training to all of your code enforcement officers, and I'm very happy to say that we have been doing that. And I believe most everyone's code enforcement officers for the city of Alameda, Emeryville, Berkeley, and Oakland have received that RRP training. And as I mentioned in the previous meeting, it was because of that training that the city of Oakland has done something, again, like our CSA, something unprecedented, and I hope it'll be duplicated, in that they have passed an ordinance that requires that property owners get a building permit for any work that they do on a pre-1978 house, including painting it. And that's their way of being able to monitor to make sure that whoever paints a house has taken the renovation, repair, painting certification course. So again, we're seeing returns on the investment in terms of training code enforcement officers, teaching them about child lead poisoning, and then teaching them RP. Next slide. Speaking of code enforcement officers, the Board of Supervisors this month recognized Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week. We established that tradition when the state legislature established the Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week of having the Board of Supervisors do a proclamation. In the last few years, they have actually included also a commendation that is given to the Code Enforcement Officer of the Year. We have had the commendation given to code enforcement officers in Livermore, Fremont, City of Alameda. I remember Orlando Gibbons received that commendation once. This year, it was David Miles from the City of Oakland received the commendation of Code Enforcement Officer of the Year, in part because of the work that they have been doing in lead poisoning prevention, enforcing the RRP certification ever since he and all the other combination building inspectors and code enforcement officers took that training. Again, as a result of that training, Oakland did pass that ordinance requiring permits for pre-1978 housing work. And he is also one of the point people that is working on the Oakland's proactive rental inspection program proposal that would be modeled after Rochester, New York, which again, in terms of uniqueness, we don't have anyone on the West Coast that has a proactive rental inspection program that includes inspecting for lead hazards. And that is what City of Oakland is now proposing to do. And that was one of the other reasons why David Miles there received that commendation of Code Enforcement Officer of the Year. I think I'm down to just 2 more slides. Also this month, we attended the Rental Housing Association Trade Expo that was held at the Claremont in Berkeley. It was extremely well attended by rental housing providers throughout the Bay Area. And it was our opportunity to speak with their executive directors, Paul Taylor there to my far right in that picture, with the Rental Housing Association of Southern Alameda County. My arm is around the shoulder of Derek Barnes, who is the executive director for the East Bay Rental Housing Association. And then on my left is Wayne Rowland, who is the president of the board of directors for the East Bay Rental Housing Association. So it was a great opportunity to interact with them and other members of the rental housing industry, to share with them the work that we do. Many of our Healthy Homes education engagement staff was there. Ms. April Williams was also there. We were able to collect quite a few applications for lead hazard control grants from some of the rental housing providers that were present. Next slide. And there's Ms. April Williams. No, we have Yvette from the Healthy Homes Department showing off some of the things that was done in our open house that was put together this month by April Williamson. We hadn't done an open house in over 10 years, and so it was quite the challenge that she stepped up to in terms of putting on the open house event, which was attended by many of the staff from our community development agency. It gave them an opportunity to learn more about the work that we do. And it also gave our staff an opportunity to learn about the work that other staff are doing within the department. So it was quite an event, and it was spread out over the entire office, thanks to the work that Ms. Williamson was able to do. And when you first walked in, there was this poster that I was really impressed at. I didn't know they were doing this, but this is the poster that kind of sums up a lot of our department and what we've been able to achieve over the years with the support of this JPA and with those CSA dollars that we have been able to leverage to receive grants from both the state and federal government. And then this slide is the bottom of that poster that kind of just shows the skill sets that our small but mighty department has. And one more picture. When I look at this picture here, I think of the Claremont Hotel too, where at the rental housing trade show, we had exhibits like the one there in which we had I think you can see the spinning wheel in the background where people were winning different prizes that were being given out by the department. And then you also see the exhibit from the open house showing some of the other sources of lead poisoning. We're finding that there are a lot of cultural sources of lead, not just housing related lead items. So the open house again was very successful because we had all of our conference rooms set up with these types of exhibits so that people could learn about the work we do. And I believe that is the last slide in the end of the director's report. Any other questions or comments?
Any other questions on the director's report? Is there any public comment on the director's report?
No public comment.
Okay, comments closed. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments, thank you for the director's report. We'll turn to the monthly report.
I have no comments for the monthly report.
Are there any questions or comments about the monthly report in the packet? Is there any public comment on the monthly report? Seeing none. Okay, item 6 is the December 21st JPA board meeting, deciding whether to keep, cancel, or move the meeting. I think somebody was gonna just check calendars. I'm okay with it at the date it is, but I wanted to, as is our practice, this is like next year, if you look at it, it's like our meeting is a whole week plus before Christmas or whatever. This year, it's like 4 days before Christmas, and so I just wanted to make sure we weren't gonna have people who planned to travel, so that we would not have a quorum for some reason. Is there anybody who's gonna not be available on December 21st for our meeting? You'll be here, you'll be here, yeah. Okay, everybody else okay?
I want to verify the November.
November was canceled at the last month's meeting, we canceled November.
Yeah, would you send out a reminder about that?
I will.
Okay, but you're okay with December 21st, everyone's still good?
Yeah.
Staff, do you wanna have the meeting here, or did you wanna have it at the 2000 Embarcadero, or do we have it noticed for a specific location? Or do you usually do the brunch? I just wanna check with you since this is I think our first full year back.
Wow, that's an excellent question.
Can't hear you, just use the microphone if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, excellent question. I don't know, actually. Should we try to do it at the
Just have it here?
We can have it here.
Okay,
Here?
alright.
And if you're doing you and Noel are doing the bags.
Well, I did last year.
I thought, I
No,
remember a little discussion,
Oakland did not do it last year.
and
It's Oakland's turn to do the bags.
Oh, shoot.
Staff knows.
Right.
Yes, so we'll talk to you offline. Okay, so is there any comment on item 6? No? Okay, so, we're gonna keep it, we don't need to take any action. Okay, item 7 is the proposed calendar for 2024. Members, the calendar is there for you. It's from January to July, it's the standard, fourth Thursday of the month at our regular time of 9:30 in the morning. There's no meeting in August, as is our practice. And then it's the standard time again for September, October. And then the months of November and December, it is moved to the third Thursdays of each month. But as I checked, November 21st is a whole week before Thanksgiving. The last possible day for Thanksgiving under US holiday rules is November 28th. So it's a full week before Thanksgiving, so there should be conflicts. And similarly, December 19th is essentially a full week before Christmas. Is there anybody who has a question or issue with the calendar at this point? No? So, Director Ballard?
The only thing that I want to note is that I will not be at the December 19th meeting. My last city council meeting will be December 17th, so you will have a new,
Do we want to move it then so that we can have you both here? I think we should.
Let's see, my last meeting will be, yeah,
What's your last day?
December 17th.
well, I think, the end of November,
It's yours is when they get sworn in at the first Tuesday, or what's your meeting date?
Tuesday, first, well, I don't know, we don't have that yet, but I think my term is over November 30th. And the new term starts December
First.
the 1st, yeah.
Really? That's unusual, because the clerk gets 30 days to certify the election results, so it's usually the first week in December it changes.
We switched
Yeah, the
over.
first week of December.
But it's like, yeah, for us, so for us, it's December 3rd.
Okay,
So that might be the same for you then? Are you the first and third Wednesday or Tuesday of the month?
yeah, but we switch it over.
Could you move it around?
Yeah.
Well, we could still have it and invite you back to have a little party.
I think the question is just, will you have a quorum at the meeting?
Will there be an appointee?
Yeah, it will be an
Because
appointment.
usually it takes
That's right, it takes
a while to get an appointee, so I'm just more raising it in line of if you would have a quorum at the meeting, and
I see.
I could certainly flag it for our mayor to let her know ahead of time in order to make an appointment, but the council would have to vote on it.
They usually do them all at once.
Yeah.
At least in Berkeley they do.
Okay,
And we do our switch over the second, it's the first half of the second meeting in December, which is December 17th.
okay, so,
But we may just want to, my recommendation would be that we just pass the schedule as is, but then have the December meeting come back as an action item at some point and just flag that for staff. That way we're not waiting for the schedule.
okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve the proposed 2024 calendar with a requirement, so it's been able to ask for it as a future agenda item, that at the October 2024 board meeting, there will be an agenda item. It's probably the farthest out I've ever set an agenda item. But at the October 2024 board meeting, you are already being asked to put as an agenda item discussion of the December 2024 calendar meeting. So that at that meeting, we already have it, we can just decide whether we should move it and how that can work. Does that work? Okay, that's a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bowers, second by Bella to approve the calendar with an instruction for October 2024 to bring back the December meeting. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? All abstaining, it passes. Okay, item 8, future agenda item requests. Anybody have a future agenda request? Okay, seeing none. Item 9 is the announcements by members of the board of directors. Any announcements? I have one brief announcement, which is the City of Emeryville's Harvest Festival is Saturday. I know that the staff at the Alameda County Healthy Homes Department will be there. I strongly encourage community members to come and friends and neighbors of neighboring cities. It is going to be Emeryville's newest, largest park. It actually soft opened yesterday morning. I got to walk around it this morning. It's absolutely beautiful. We expect about 1,200 people will be there. We have 50 vendors, we have food trucks, we are closing, right, if you're me, you're opening the streets to people. We're gonna have a huge bike valet, we'll have a 21 and over zone. We will have kids contests. The winners of all the kids contests will be my judges on the dog contest, or rotten dog contest. We'll kick off at 3. So there'll be a lot of really cute and ugly pups both there competing for the title of Emeryville's Rottenest Dog. And we'll have DJs and live bands throughout the day. It's 11 to 5, it's just 5 blocks down the street at 4311 Hubbard Street. So if you do come, find me, you'll get a shout out. Assemblymember Bont will be there. And we have named the park Kuchiyun Park, which is the name that the Chochenyo speaking Ohlone gave to this land. This was home to the largest sacred burial ground out of 425. They only had the largest shell mound was here at that location in Emeryville. And so we are giving it its history back with our park naming. So we'll have that park naming event will be, a dedication will be, a will be at 12:30. So you're all invited. All right, anyone else? Madam Clerk, the time is 10:32. That's 1 hour exactly. Adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. So nice to meet you here.